The 2024 NFL schedule is set to release later this week. I thought it'd be a perfect time to break down opponents, easiest home games, and easiest road games. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. It's at Clancy's Corner _. I'm still getting used to it. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. So, the matriculation of the offseason, the chronology of the offseason is the same. Season ends, legal tampering starts, free agency is ablaze, couple weeks, draft, and then schedule release. And then we go into minicamp. I think minicamp starts on Friday. Rookie minicamp starts on Friday for the rookies. Schedule release, I believe, is on Thursday, so we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about over the next handful of weeks. And I will be doing a series with as many Locked On college football hosts as we've got on the platform pertaining to the teams or conferences that the Cardinals drafted from. It's going to be fun. It's going to be like a 2-week-long event, and I think that it's important because even though, and I tweeted about this morning, even though the Cardinals have drafted a lot of young talent in positions of need, they still didn't do a whole lot this offseason to bring in substantiated veteran talent, aside from maybe Jonah Williams and Sean Murphy-Bunting. Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols are their, rotation guys. So getting to know these rookies is going to be imperative because they're going to be thrust into action. Now, this isn't like the Steve Keim situation where, they maybe weren't ready or didn't have the veteran support around them necessary to learn how to, play this NFL game and have it slow down a little bit more quickly than, what happens for rookies at times. They're going to be in a position to succeed, but there's going to be a lot of young players being put in a lot of important positions. And I think you, everydayers, should know the players a little bit more in depth than, what you saw with draft scouting and things like that. So I think it'll be really, really fun, really good to get all those hosts on. Should be about 10 shows. I'm kind of mapping it out still, but it's going to be fun. So before that, the 2024 schedule is set to release on Thursday, I think. They're still keeping it gray as of right now, but I think it's Thursday. It's always on a Thursday. And I thought that it'd be fun to kind of just look at the teams. In a vacuum, the Cardinals have 9 home games, 8 away games, which lends me to think, and there have already been rumblings, that the Cardinals are going to be playing overseas, whether in the UK or Germany, for one of those quote-unquote home games. It's usually how it is. Teams that have more home games than not, they'll either play, the NFL, schedule committee tries to make it as even as possible with 17 weeks. More teams have 9 games, 9 home wins, and you kind of want to even out the playing field for those that don't. So, with that, first thing, say the Cardinals do play overseas. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. The Jacksonville Jaguars play overseas almost every year. And there have also been rumblings that Shad Khan is going to move that team to Europe, to London or whatever, because he does a lot of business out there. It's never happened. But the Cardinals are just in that pool of teams where it's like, you know what? They're exciting enough. They've got some talent, and it's not going to be, this blockbuster game overseas, even though Kansas City played overseas last year. So they're kind of changing the mold there with the actual teams that go play. So I just feel like being prepared for the Cardinals to play in the UK or Germany, just prep for it. Just prep for it. Now, when you're looking at this schedule, and I'm going to break down the easiest and toughest road games that they have and the easiest and toughest home games, easiest and toughest both loosely defined, but we'll kind of get a map about, what it's going to kind of look like. I'm not going to do any sort of prediction right now. I like to do a way too early prediction. I'll probably do that either Friday or Monday right after the schedule comes out because that's fun. but we're going to kind of just get the lay of the land. We've known for a couple months who the opponents the Cardinals were going to face. And now we get to discuss it a little bit more in depth. So they'll be playing the NFC North, the AFC East, and a couple other teams. And it's going to be, I can flash it here real quick. So the AFC East, so we're playing the Patriots, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills. The NFC North, Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota. And then they're playing the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Panthers. Seems like they play the Panthers every year now. It used to be the Lions. Now it seems to be the Panthers. So this is not going to be as easy of a schedule as it looked like before the draft and before free agency. This is going to be much more difficult than the last place schedule that most teams get after having such a bad year that the Cardinals had last year. So before going into this mini breakdown, and then we'll do it more obviously once we know the actual schedule come Thursday night, most likely. Setting expectations is something that the Cardinals are going to have to do, that media members do, that fans do going into a season. The Cardinals were bad last year. The proof of concept was good. Infusing talent into that proof of concept should yield more wins. The over-under by most books is 6.5 wins. So say they just hit the over, getting a 75% increase in wins from the year before, that's a win. Okay, so tempering expectations in the sense, and I'll get way more into this as we, get closer to the actual season starting, but there's a world where this team isn't close to on the bubble for playoff contention this year. Like where the graphics start, week 13 or 12 or 13, where it's, in the hunt on the right side, there is a very good chance, or there's a solid chance that the Cardinals will never even make that side. Could they surprise people? Of course. They're much more equipped to do it this year than last year, obviously. If everybody stays healthy, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is a wide receiver 1, if Trey McBride emerges as a top 5 tight end of the league, if James Conner and Trey Benson can replicate what they did last year, if the defense makes a massive improvement, anything's possible. So I'm not saying it won't happen, but I'm saying if the Cardinals win 7 games this year, that's a win. Especially with the total last year. And you could say, they could have won 7 games last year, and I've, spouted that multiple times on this show. But they didn't. 7 wins, 8 wins, doubling last year's win total, it's a win. Because when you look at it, and this is just a factual statement, when you look at their roster, removing the rookies, they've added 2 positions, 2 key spots, as I mentioned, Jonah Williams and Sean Murphy-Bunting. Mac Wilson, I guess you could throw in there too. But this is not pressure, but it's expectations from the rookies to produce, and expectations for Garrett Williams and B.J. Ojolari and Paris Johnson to improve upon last year, which they most likely will. This is not an easy schedule. This is not one that would lend people to think, oh, they're a worst to first contender. They could be. I mean, all of this is in, speculative stuff now. But after the draft and after free agency, the bad teams last year, a lot of them got good quick because a lot of them decided to use their salary cap money this year to rise up the ranks, and the Cardinals decided not to. They're going to wait till next year. Slow and steady. So that's why I'm so excited to embark on this season. This is going to be my 8th season hosting Locked On Cardinals. Let's count on the fingers, shall we? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 8 years. 8th season. And this may be the most exciting one yet. It starts with the schedule. What are the easiest and toughest road games the Cardinals have? What are the easiest and toughest home games the Cardinals have? I'll discuss it next. Alex Lancey, Locked On Cardinals. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. I know you love seeing my big dumb face. You can see it more if you subscribe. I will be right back to break down the easiest and toughest road games for 2024. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Every moment. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a win of your own. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Are you watching, especially the Western Conference? I guess the Eastern Conference also. Can the Knicks get another series win and maybe play Boston for the Eastern Conference Championship? Is Minnesota legit after beating Denver in game one of their series? You can still pick the outright winner on FanDuel for the entire championship. It may be more muddled than ever. And it's so much fun, and FanDuel's got you covered. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Alex Nancy, Locked On Cardinals. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. I had my buddy Bo Brock on last week from PHNX Cardinals. I think I'll be joining him in a couple weeks as well. We call it a home and home. And for those that want clarification, Bo is still one of my dear friends. We just like making fun of each other while other people listen and watch. And I always reign supreme. It's crazy. It's just wild how he's never caught up. The Cardinals schedule scenario is going to be fun. It's very unpredictable. So let's talk about the road games first. They play Green Bay at Lambeau, Minnesota at Allegiant, Miami, Buffalo, Carolina, and then the three division opponents, Rams, 49ers, and Seahawks. The quarterbacks that they will be facing, Jordan Love, who had a meteoric rise last year from where people thought he could be in his first year without Aaron Rodgers. You'd think, depending on where in the season this is, it'll either be Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. Tua, Josh Allen, Bryce Young, Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith. The road games are like road games, and listen, obviously, depending on when they happen. If the Cardinals play Green Bay on a Monday night in January, it's going to be a lot different than playing Green Bay on a Monday night in October. The elements will be upon us at Lambeau. Buffalo, same thing. Carolina and Miami can have big rain games. And then you've got, in Seattle too. And then you've got, usually very good weather in LA, San Francisco, and Minnesota with the dome. But they only play, in one dome on the road. When you look at the easiest games, no game in the NFL is easy. You can ask every opponent of the Arizona Cardinals last year what the easiest games were. Ask them. And the Cardinals just blew up. Oh, that's a win. Well, are you sure? So easiest and toughest, loosely defined, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Let's start with the one that's, let's say, the most winnable on paper. You'd say Carolina. They're much improved on offense. They added Deontay Johnson. They added a bunch of different pieces after parting ways with Brian Burns. They drafted Xavier Legette. I'd say that's the most winnable. And then maybe Minnesota next because of the uncertainty at quarterback. And then you've got tough games. Green Bay, Miami, Buffalo, the Rams, 49ers. And I think Seahawks would be the third most winnable game. But you look at the offenses and what they produced last year with Green Bay, Miami, and Buffalo. I know Buffalo lost a whole bunch of players. They gifted Xavier Worthy to Kansas City instead of just drafting a guy. And then, the usual suspects of the Rams and 49ers. Like, this is, think about it. So look at the Cardinals roster, okay? They've got good young pieces. Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Trey McBride, James Conner, Trey Benson. The offensive line's much improved. But these guys, especially the corners, they got to produce. When you look at the schedule and you actually put draft aura, draft picks to paper, to these are your opponents that you're going to face, then you start to look at matchups. And this year, the theme is going to be the defense needs to be able to stop people. And they did a pretty good job last year for the first half of most games. And then things kind of sputtered out. Budda Baker missed time. B.J. Ojolari wasn't great to start the season because he was injured. Garrett Williams missed time. Kyzir White was out during, towards the tail end of the season. The interior defensive line was riddled with injury the entire year with Jonathan Ledbetter and Dante Stills. And L.J. Collier missed the whole season. Like, they had a lot of injuries last year. But they've got talent in different spots to be able to. They've got more depth this year. Still, though, look at these opponents, man. Green Bay at Lambeau, the Dolphins in South Beach, the Bills in Orchard Park. Imagine playing them in December. But then you look on the other side, what is this team going to do very well next year? They did very well last year, run the ball. And one of the things that I say constantly, I do Locked On NFL Thursday, the national show on this podcast, on this platform with Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans. And one of the things I discuss a lot when talking, especially down the stretch with playoff teams, is my favorite teams are the ones who can win in any element. Any element, doesn't matter. Bright and shiny, raining, windy, in a dome, in the snow, doesn't matter. They can win games. And I think the Cardinals, with this roster, with an improved offensive line, with an improved wide receiver core, just by drafting Marvin Harrison Jr., the amount of stacked boxes the Cardinals are going to face because everybody's relying on them running the ball more than passing because, whether it be quarterback play or, just trying to control the clock and keeping the opposing quarterback off the field, there's going to be lighter boxes this year if the pass game can level up like everybody expects it to. It was an addition by subtraction with Hollywood Brown gone. There's always that pressure to get him involved because they traded a first-round pick for him and because he's Kyler Murray's friend and because of all these things. That's gone now. Now they've got young talent on the outside in the slot, tight end position to be able to keep opposing second and third levels of opposing defenses honest. So they're not putting 8 or 9 in the box just because James Conner's been lighting them up all day. And on top of that, with Trey Benson there, James Conner's not going to have to carry the brunt of the load so they can run the ball more if need be. So when it used to be, oh no, hopefully Cliff Kingsbury's offense of hucking it down the field will work when it's cold somewhere else, that's not going to be an issue anymore. So, when you look at this when you look at these road matchups, I think you'd say this is more difficult than the home games. Green Bay, Lambeau, Minnesota, Dolphins in South Beach, Buffalo at Orchard Park, and then the Rams, 49ers, and Seahawks. That is a tough slate. Now, the Cardinals do have 9 home games this year. Rumblings are one of them will be overseas. So let's pretend it's not just for the fun of today. What are the easiest, most winnable home games they have in 2024? And what are the most difficult, toughest games they have next season? We'll discuss it. Locked On Cardinals, your team, every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You've already talked about that. But this is there's too much good stuff to talk about, man. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel to boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine, and there's also new timed events that helps you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now free on Google App or the App Store, Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Final segment. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? have to turn down the volume with all the shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I am geeked up for the schedule reveal. I'm geeked. It's going to be so fun. It's going to put so much more emphasis on the Cardinals roster. Because, yes, you're playing these teams. Some are at home, some are on the road. Does it really matter when they are in the season? Yeah. If you're fighting for a playoff spot and you've got to go Miami, Buffalo, San Francisco, week 15, 16, 7, or week 16, 17, 18. Yeah. When's the bye week? Another big thing. Are you going to be one of the teams that's, unlucky enough to get it in week 5 or week 14? Or are you going to be one of the lucky ones? You get it in week 9, so you get that intermission between the first and second half of the season. When are the Thursday night games? How many primetime games are there going to be in general? Can you count a game in Germany, a primetime game? You're playing at 6:30 a.m. Pacific? Are they going to get a Sunday night game? Are they going to get a Monday night game? Are they going to get 2 Monday night games? They had 0 primetime games last year, the Cardinals. I don't know if you count Christmas. I don't think you count that. Are they going to play on Thanksgiving? We don't know. What we do know is they are in the best position to succeed that they've been in a long time, regardless of how young they are. And that's going to be fun. And that's what makes this schedule reveal. It's like a breath of fresh air, because last year was like, it doesn't matter who they play. It's not going to be fun. Ended up being a lot more fun than anybody ever expected. But moving into the home opponents that the Cardinals have, they have Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, New England Patriots, New York Jets, Washington Commanders, and then the Chargers, Rams, 49ers, Seahawks. So coupled with the road opponents of Jordan Love, J.J. McCarthy, Tua, Josh Allen, Bryce Young, Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, and Geno Smith, they now have Caleb Williams and that vaunted offense, Jared Goff, Drake May, Aaron Rodgers, Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, and then the 3 NFC West quarterbacks. So taking for the YouTube audience, I'm taking that off the screen for a second. Just what a grab bag. They're playing the top 3 picks in the 2024 NFL draft. So when it's like, okay, are they going to play one of them in week 1, one of them in week 3, and one of them in week 6? That would be a lot different than playing them later in the season. You want them as early as possible. So when you talk about the easiest or the most winnable games, I would still take the 3 rookies in Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. Week 1, 2, 3, please. 1, 2, 3, please. And then you've got the veterans like Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford and Geno Smith. So when you talk about the most winnable games, de facto, you have to go to the rookies, in my opinion. You have to go to the Bears, Patriots, and Commanders. If I'm ranking those of most winnable to least winnable of those 3 games, I would take the Commanders at 1, easiest. The Patriots 2, and the Bears 3. Because the Bears, they did a lot this offseason. They did a lot last season and last offseason. Trading for DJ Moore. And then adding, pieces everywhere. Re-signing Jalen Johnson this offseason. The draft that they had with Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. They're going to be the toughest of the rookie quarterback teams. They're going to play right away. I mean, you could talk about maybe Spencer Rattler. If he ends up starting in New Orleans, that may be a tougher matchup. But I think the Bears, that's going to be the toughest one of the rookie matchups for the Cardinals. Luckily for the Cardinals, they're playing them all at home. And I think that I just had this realization. I hope the Cardinals' week 1 opponent is the Commanders with Cliff Kingsbury. That's what I hope. Because that'd be fun. That'd be fun. But then you got the Chargers. I mean, like the toughest games are going to be the Lions. It's going to be the Jets if Aaron Rodgers is healthy. It's going to be the Chargers, who stole a game from the Cardinals at home the last time they played them. And then it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Rams this year. Like the Cardinals, of the 3 opponents, the Cardinals have had the best luck with the Rams, even though it didn't start that way with Cliff Kingsbury. Like they've been in contention with the Rams. Seattle beat them twice last year, I think. Well, yeah, because Matt Prater missed those 2 kicks that gifted the Cardinals Marvin Harrison Jr. So kudos to Matty, to Prater over there. All in all, and the reason why I did this, you guessed it, exercise on a Monday to start the week, where the schedule reveal is going to be later this week, is to show how polarizing. Holy, they played Minnesota too. Are those a top? Oh no, Michael Penix was drafted. Like the Cardinals are playing 4 of the top 5 quarterbacks that are drafted this year that are set to play. I mean, I don't know if Sam Darnold is going to start. They may sit JJ McCarthy. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what you can sell to Justin Jefferson. Whatever you have to sell to Justin Jefferson to keep him to stay, I think is what you're going to do. This is going to be such a fun year. And with that, almost every team they play this year, aside from maybe Carolina, which could be the overseas game, there are rumblings that that's what it's going to be. But that wouldn't necessarily make sense because that's one of the Cardinals' road games and not home games. So I would imagine that they would take one of the Cardinals' home games and play them overseas, so it would even out 8-8 in the continental U.S. But you look at all of the games that the Cardinals play, and all of the buzz around Marvin Harrison Jr. and saying Kyler Murray coming back and Trey McBride and James Conner and Trey Benson in this offense, every game that they are scheduled could be a primetime game. Chicago Bears for sure. Lions, yep. Patriots, definitely. The Jets for sure. Washington, probably not. That's probably the only one. Chargers, Monday Night Football for sure. Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, I'm sure one of those will be Thursday Night Football. Packers on the road, Vikings, Dolphins, Bills, like 95% of the games that the Cardinals play in 2024 are worthy of prime time. And that is so fascinating as we get to Thursday night, which is most likely when the schedule is going to be released. I don't know what's going to happen in 2024. None of us do. But I'll tell you this. It will make up tenfold from the sludge that we had to go through last year to get through the 2023 season, regardless of how fun it was at times. Alex Lancey, Locked on Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I will talk to you tomorrow.